Welcome back to my channel. This is a Nigerian folktale of mystery, fate, and redemption. The sun hung low over the small town of Umuachala, its golden rays casting long shadows over the dusty roads. Women wrapped in colorful wrappers balanced baskets of goods on their heads, exchanging laughter and gossip. Children ran barefoot, their laughter ringing through the air, and men gathered under the ancient Iroko tree, discussing matters of the land. Amaka, a woman of remarkable beauty and virtue, moved through the town with grace. She had been married to Chidi for 6 years, and though their union was once filled with love, recent times had brought strain. Chidi, once a doting husband, had grown distant, weighed down by the pressures of life and the whispers of those who envied their once happy marriage. For months, their marital bed had remained cold. That was why the news of Amaka's pregnancy came as an earth-shattering shock. She stood in front of the herbalist's hut, clutching the wooden post for support. "What did you say, Mama Agbo?" Her voice was barely above a whisper. Mama Agbo, the town's revered healer, squinted at her, puzzled. "Amaka, you are with child. 3 moons along. Are you telling me you did not know?" The words sent a chill through Amaka's spine. It was impossible. But my husband and I have not lain together in months, she stammered, shaking her head as if that would erase the diagnosis. Mama Agbo's wrinkled face darkened. "Then we must seek answers, my child. For this is not ordinary." Amaka left the hut with trembling legs. As she walked through the village, she felt the weight of unseen eyes on her. Whispers followed her like an eerie shadow. The walls of her home, once a sanctuary, now seemed to close in on her. That evening, she waited for Chidi to return. When he did, his face was hardened with exhaustion. "Welcome, my husband," she greeted softly. Chidi barely spared her a glance. "What is it, Amaka?" "I am tired." She took a deep breath, her hands trembling. "I am pregnant." The air grew thick, suffocating. Chidi's face twisted in disbelief. "Pregnant?" His voice was dangerously low. "And you expect me to believe it is mine?" Amaka gasped. "Chidi, I have never known another man." Chidi let out a bitter laugh. "Do I look like a fool, Amaka? We have not been together in months. Who is he? Tell me now before I drag you before the elders." Tears blurred Amaka's vision. "I swear on my life I have been faithful." But Chidi's mind was set. The betrayal he felt was too deep, too consuming. He stormed out, leaving Amaka in a pool of tears. The next morning, the village square was packed. The elders, wise men of grey beards and stern expressions, sat in a semicircle, their staff of office resting beside them. The townspeople murmured, eager for scandal. Amaka stood alone in the center, her heart pounding. Chidi sat across from her, rage simmering in his eyes. "Amaka, daughter of Obiora," Elder Okik began, his voice deep and commanding. "Your husband has brought forth a grievous matter. You carry a child, yet your husband claims he has not lain with you in many moons. How do you explain this?" Amaka swallowed, her voice trembling. "I do not know, great elders, but I swear on my ancestors, I have been faithful to my husband." Chidi scoffed. "Lies." The elders exchanged glances. This was no ordinary case. They would need divine intervention. "The gods shall decide," Elder Okik declared. "You will swear before Amadioha, the god of justice. If you lie, he will strike you down." A collective gasp spread through the crowd. No one lied before Amadioha and lived. Amaka's knees weakened, but she stood firm. "I will swear," she said, her voice unwavering. The shrine was prepared. The sacred white chalk was drawn, and the ritual began. Amaka stepped forward, her heart in her throat. I, Amaka, swear before Amadioha that I have known no man except my husband. If I lie, may the gods punish me. The wind howled. The trees swayed. The villagers held their breath. Nothing happened. Elder Okak's eyes widened. The gods have spoken. She speaks the truth. Murmurs erupted. Chidi staggered back, confusion gripping him. If Amaka was not lying, then how? The mystery deepened, and somewhere in the crowd, an old woman with piercing eyes smiled knowingly. What happens next? Who is the mysterious old woman? How did Amaka conceive? As the crowd dispersed, a strange hush fell over Amio. The people, though awed by Amadioha's judgment, remained uneasy. How could a woman conceive without lying with a man? Even the gods had spoken, yet the mystery deepened. That evening, Amaka sat alone in front of her hut, her mind heavy with thoughts. Chidi had refused to speak to her after the judgment, still struggling to accept the impossible truth. Then, a soft knock. Amaka hesitated before opening the door. Standing before her was the old woman from the crowd, the one with the piercing eyes. She was draped in a faded wrapper, her face lined with years of wisdom. "Who are you, Mama?" Amaka asked, wary yet curious. The woman stepped inside, closing the door behind her. "My child," she said, her voice thick with mystery. "I am Nika, the keeper of forgotten truths." Amaka's breath caught in her throat. "You carry a sacred child," Amaka Nika continued, her eyes glimmering with knowledge. "A child not conceived by man, but by the will of the gods." Amaka's heartbeat quickened. "How? Why me?" Nika took a deep breath and gestured for Amaka to sit. "Long ago, before your birth, your mother made a vow to the gods when she struggled to conceive. She promised that if she bore a daughter, that child would serve a greater purpose, chosen by the divine. You, Amaka, were that daughter." Amaka gasped. Her mother had passed when she was a child, leaving behind only fragmented stories. She had never known of this vow. "But I have lived an ordinary life," she protested. "I am just a woman, a wife." "You were chosen the moment you came into this world," Nika interrupted gently. "The child in your womb is not just yours. It belongs to destiny, but with great purpose comes great trials. This is why you must be strong." Amaka felt a shiver crawl up her spine. The words felt both terrifying and strangely familiar, as if her soul had known them before. Nika placed a wrinkled hand over Amaka. "The journey ahead will be difficult. The world fears what it does not understand. Even your husband may not believe you, but in time, the truth will reveal itself." A sudden gust of wind blew through the hut, and when Amaka looked up, Nika was gone vanished into the night like a whisper in the wind. The next morning, Chidi stood by the riverbank. How could his wife be pregnant if he had not touched her? The gods may have spared her, but his heart still burned with doubt. "I will find the truth, no matter what it takes." As the days passed, Chidi's paranoia grew. He could not accept Amaka's innocence. He sought the counsel of the village's most feared debut, a sorcerer known as Azulu. "The gods may have spared her, but that does not mean she is pure," Azulu said, his eyes gleaming with malice. "There are ways to uncover the true father of the child." "What must I do?" Chidi asked, desperation lacing his voice. Azulu smiled darkly. "A ritual, but be warned, if she is guilty, the gods will not be merciful." That night, under the cover of darkness, Chidi brought Amaka to Azulu's shrine. She protested, but Chidi's grip was firm. "You claim innocence," he said. "Then prove it." Azulu drew a circle in the sand, whispering incantations. "If your words are true, you will not burn." Amaka's heart pounded. The villagers, summoned by the spectacle, watched in eerie silence. Tears welled in her eyes as she turned to Chidi. "You do not trust me." Chidi's face was unreadable. "Step into the fire, Amaka." Taking a deep breath, Amaka stepped forward. The flames licked at her feet then. Miraculously, they turned cold. A cry of astonishment rippled through the crowd. A Zulu stumbled back. "This is impossible." The fire had turned to water. A voice echoed through the shrine. It was Nika. "She carries a divine child. You have doubted a woman chosen by the gods." Fear gripped a Zulu. He fell to his knees. "Forgive me." Chidi, trembling, dropped to the ground. But Amaka turned away. Her heart, though victorious, was shattered. The gods had spoken again, but was it too late for love to be restored? Chidi sat in his hut, his head buried in his hands. The gods had spoken not once but twice. And yet, in his blind rage, he had humiliated the woman who had done nothing but love him. The shame was unbearable. "I will beg for her forgiveness," Chidi said, "even if I must crawl on my knees for the rest of my life." Amaka sat inside her father's compound. She had refused to return home with Chidi. Her heart was too wounded. She had loved him with every fiber of her being. But love without trust was like a house without a foundation. Her father, Obiora the elder, sat beside her. "My daughter," he said softly, "what will you do?" Amaka sighed. "How can I return to a man who doubted me so deeply? He was ready to let me burn." Obiora nodded. "Men are weak in the face of the unknown." Amaka frowned. "That is no excuse." "No, it is not," her father agreed. "But you must ask yourself, do you still love him?" Tears welled in Amaka's eyes. "I do, but I do not know if I can ever look at him the same way again." At that moment, footsteps approached. Chidi stood at the entrance, looking more broken than she had ever seen him. "I have come to beg for your forgiveness." "I was a fool," Chidi continued. "I should have believed you. Instead, I was the one who hurt you the most." Amaka wiped a tear from her cheek. "You humiliated me, Chidi. You let the village question my honor." "I know," he whispered, "and I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. You have broken my heart, Chidi, and I do not know if I can ever trust you again." Chidi swallowed hard, nodding. "No matter how long it takes, I will wait." And with that, he turned and walked away. Months passed, and the time for Amaka's delivery arrived. Despite everything, Chidi never stopped proving his remorse. He sent word through her father, helped her father fetch firewood. The unborn child was seen as divine, and many awaited its birth with reverence. On a night when the moon shone brighter than ever, Amaka's labor pains began. The entire village gathered outside the hut, waiting. Prayers were whispered, candles were lit. And then, just before dawn, the cry of a newborn filled the air. But as the midwife lifted the baby, the room fell silent. For on the baby's forehead was a strange mark, a symbol none had ever seen before. Nika appeared, stepping forward. Her eyes gleamed with wisdom as she gazed upon the child. "This is no ordinary child," she said. "He is a gift from the gods, sent to change the fate of this land." Amaka, exhausted yet filled with wonder, looked at her son and whispered, "What is his destiny?" Nika smiled. "That, my child, only time will tell." Chidi watching as Amaka cradled their son. His heart ached with love and regret. "This is your son," she said, "and if you are truly ready, we will raise him together." Tears slipped down Chidi's face. "I will never fail you again, Amaka, never." And as he held his son, he vowed that no force in this world, neither fear nor doubt, would ever break their family again. Faith is not just believing in what is divine, it is also believing in those you love. Doubt can destroy, but trust can heal even the deepest wounds. And most of all, when destiny calls, it cannot be denied.
Did you enjoy this story? Please drop your comments in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, bye bye. Thank you.